Basketball is a game of moments, and over the years, there have been moments so explosive, so unreal, that years later we're still not sure how it happened. Many people remember exactly where they were at this moment.
Jordan, open, Chicago with the lead!
Or this.
Teams in a playoff game. Miller for three, and he got it. Reggie Miller with a clutch tray, and it's 105-102. And a steal. Miller retreats to the three-point line and hits again.
Or this.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James.
These moments were all so intense that they'll probably remain etched in people's memories forever. And this is because of three factors and questions. 1, how big was the stage? 2, how high were the stakes? And 3, what was on the line? In 2024, Steph Curry set the bar so high, making his Olympic run more intense than any NBA championship. Here's why. Before you can understand what Steph Curry did in the Olympics, you'll have to understand the stage he was standing on. Because the Olympics is not just another version of the NBA. It is a completely different kind of pressure. And some of basketball's greatest players have tried to explain this pressure.
It carries a great honor with that goes above and beyond winning the NBA championship.
You see, no matter how big an NBA moment feels, you're still playing for a franchise. You are playing for a city and an organization. But in the Olympics, you are playing for your country. And when that happens, the pressure increases to unprecedented levels that few can describe.
Watching, you have to contemplate the entire planet being invested in what was happening here. This wasn't for an NCAA championship, which happens every year. It wasn't for an NBA championship, which happens every year. And I get it. It is these guys' lives. I'm not diminishing the significance of any of that. But this is every 4 years, and this is America clinging to our status.
This is what makes it different. This is not an annual opportunity where you can come back next season and try again. This happens just once every 4 years. And if you fail, you don't just lose a game, you lose in front of the entire world. But even at that, the stakes were higher in 2024 because for the first time, non-American players were dominating the NBA for close to a decade. It was so bad that they had to assemble the Avengers.
It's a reason why Steph Curry, LeBron James, and Kevin Durant committed and went full throttle for playing in the Olympics. It's because the other countries are catching up to us in basketball.
This was not just about adding another achievement to a resume. This was about protecting a legacy, your pride, and your country's image. This was the situation in Paris 2024. So, even before Steph Curry touched the floor, he was already playing in the most pressure-filled environment basketball has ever created. 'Cause if you think you've got an edge on what's coming next, we are partnering with Kalshi, and they turn your predictions into possibilities. It's the first CFTC regulated exchange where you can trade yes-no event contracts on real-world questions, from inflation to major legislation to the next big breakout in entertainment. We all know Nikola Jokic is back to form even after his injury. His value to the Nuggets is unmatched. Like, if I wanted to trade for Nikola Jokic to be the MVP this year, I just go to my Kalshi app, navigate to the NBA awards, select the yes-no event for NBA MVP, place my trade amount, enter my birthday, and complete sign-up. And then, when the Joker wins, I get paid. Everyone has something they follow closely, whether it's markets, sports, politics, or pop culture. You do the research, you follow the trends, and you trust your instincts. Kalshi gives you a way to put that knowledge to work. Let's say you're convinced the Fed will raise rates, or you've got a gut feeling about who's taking Game 7 of the NBA Finals. On Kalshi, you can trade on those insights, turning your opinions into outcomes. And just like the NBA brings that tip-off to buzzer-beater intensity, Kalshi brings that same thrill to your insight. You're not sitting on the sidelines with an opinion, you're in the game. Over 1 million users have already joined, with more than $2 billion traded, and it's completely legal and regulated in all 50 states. These are real money markets where people like you are trading on what they believe will happen. And here's what makes Kalshi stand out. It even pays interest on long-term positions, meaning you can earn while you wait for an outcome to play out. Join Kalshi, the marketplace for people who don't just cheer from the stands, they trade what's next. Your prediction, your contract, your move. Head to Kalshi.com/hoopers and get $20 when you trade $20. Turn your "I've got a feeling" into action today. A huge shout out to Kalshi for partnering with us. Let me know in the comments what you traded and if you think your trade can win. Now, I know that probably sounds over the top, so let me explain a bit. In the NBA, you have margin for error because greatness is measured over time, over adjustments, and over a 7-game series. This means you can lose, study, adapt, and come back stronger. And this is exactly what Michael Jordan took advantage of when the Pistons were bullying him. But in the Olympics, there is no adjustment period. Your second chance doesn't come next year. It comes in 4 years. So, one loss and your gold medal dream is gone. But even in all this pressure, we've been told years ago that if there's one man who can step up to such, it is Steph Curry.
There's a serious calmness about him, which is extremely deadly.
And that's just the thing about Curry. Like Kobe would say, he's not worried about the past or stressing about the future. He's just there, locked on the moment while fully embracing the stakes no matter how high they are. He did this in 2022 when the goal was to prove everyone that he could lead a team to a championship. In the 2024 Olympics, the goal was about preserving America's dominance in basketball, which was and is still slipping away. They had to win to prove that the United States was still the standard of basketball. But here's what makes the intensity higher in the Olympics. The competition structure made every single moment feel like a Game 7. But in all this, Steph Curry came alive just as Serbia was cooking the US. He decided it was time to take over in an environment where every possession could define an entire country's legacy. So we understand the pressure, but then again, pressure alone does not make a moment historic. Execution does. And what Steph Curry did in Paris was not just clutch, it was unprecedented. In the semifinal game against Serbia, with Team USA down big and on the verge of elimination, Curry stepped into one of the most pressure-filled environments basketball has ever seen and completely took over the game.
Curry makes space for the shot. Curry comes back and puts the US ahead.
He finished that game with 36 points and hit 9 threes, which is the most ever in an Olympic elimination game. And every single shot felt like it carried the weight of an entire country watching in real time.
And then he has what I think will go down as the single most memorable sequence in men's Olympic basketball history.
And what made it even crazier is that these were not safe shots or rhythm shots, because these were the kind of shots that would get anyone else benched instantly.
He's literally the only person that has ever lived for whom that was a good offensive sequence. Anyone else takes that shot, we are basically, we're revoking their citizenship.
That line perfectly captures what made this run different, because Curry was operating in a space where the margin for error was zero. And it was not just the semifinal, because in the gold medal game against France, in front of a hostile home crowd, he followed it up with 24 points, all from 3-point range, closing the door on the biggest stage possible.
In that first quarter, when nothing can get going, that was the moment where you was like, thank God for Steph Curry.
There was no adjustment period, no easing into the game, because from the very beginning, he understood what was at stake and delivered immediately. When you compare this to the greatest NBA moments ever, the difference becomes clear, because those moments were about rising to the occasion, while this was about carrying the entire occasion on his back. This was not just clutch. This was an inevitability under the highest pressure the sport had ever seen. At this point, the only real question left is simple. Was this actually more intense than the greatest NBA moments we have ever seen? Because when you look at the names attached to those moments, it is not a small list. We saw Michael Jordan's The Shot.
Jordan, open, Chicago with the lead.
LeBron James's chase down block.
Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James.
Reggie Miller's 8 points in 9 seconds.
And it's 105-102. And a steal. Miller retreats to the three-point line and hits again.
And Kobe Bryant's 81-point game.
He's had, I think, 3 consecutive 30-point games. Kobe, reverse layup to score. By Kobe. Great hustle by Kobe. He's going to score. Tonight at least. Bryant for 80. This would be 18 for 20 from the line and an 81-point game.
And so many more. These are moments that defined eras, moments that built legacies, and moments that we still talk about decades later. But every single one of them shares something in common. They had room for error. They had multiple games. They had time to recover if something went wrong. And most importantly, they were still confined to a franchise, a fan base, and a league. What Steph Curry did in the Olympics had none of that. There was no Game 7 safety net. There was no second chance if he had an off night. It was one game, with the entire world watching, and the pressure of maintaining a country's dominance resting on every possession.
Too much was on the line. Steph Curry showed up and showed out in great fashion when it mattered the most. By far, top 5 greatest moments in sports history.
This has to be your conclusion after combining all we've mentioned earlier. Steph Curry's Olympic run was more intense than any NBA championship. But it's important to keep in mind that what makes this story so powerful is not just what happened, but what it represents. Because this was not about breaking records or adding another trophy to a resume. This was about stepping into the highest pressure environment basketball can offer and delivering at a level that we have never seen before. It was about proving that when the stakes are at their absolute peak, that's when Steph Curry likes to show up. And the Olympic run is the undisputed proof. But do you agree with this? Or think the 2022 run was even better? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments. But if you want to hear comments from other NBA players, watch what NBA players say about Steph's first Olympic run next.